Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, AlbyMTG, and today we will be taking a look at 10 of the best-selling cards from Core Set 2019. I went on a bunch of different online sellers for Magic the Gathering, compiled a bunch of data, and then these were the 10 that I decided were pretty much the top 10. Of course, it is pretty hard to tell specifically because some websites don't give out specific numbers, but I took into account the traffic that website gets compared to the traffic other websites get. Some of the websites involved being websites like Card Market, Card Sphere, TCG Player was a big one, all sorts of websites like those. And I put together a nice list here of 10 of the most selling cards, or I guess best selling cards so far from Core Set 2019. Now that this set has been out since Thursday, it's currently Sunday, so it's only been out for a few days, so this will give us a nice indication of what cards people are most excited for in the set. So the first card we have here is Death Baron. The list is, by the way, in alphabetical order. I felt like that was just the easiest way to do it since we didn't have a definite 1 through 10 list. Alphabetical order just seemed like the easiest way to do this. So first card here is Death Baron. This one being a reprint, but now that it's being reprinted, the price is dropping fairly dramatically, meaning that this card is now becoming slightly more accessible. In Standard, the Mono Black Zombies deck is also becoming a thing, so you might need to pick up your copies of Death Baron for that deck as well. But mostly for the Zombie Commander players, I know there are a lot of you out there, and I know that Death Baron is a fantastic card that you want to pick up for your deck, and now that it's much cheaper than it was previously, now is the perfect time to pick it up. If we scroll down here, you can see that it has been doing well in Standard here, the Mono Black Zombies list, like I said earlier, as well as a White Black Zombies list, and Death Baron fits perfectly in both of those. The next card we have here is Goreclaw, Terror of Qualsisma. This card does not see any standard play, as you can see here. Recent decks using Goreclaw, there's no decks found, and that's basically just because this seems like it's just kind of a commander card. Goes in your mono-green Stompy Commanders or green-red Stompy Commanders, and it's also just the fact that it's our first ever legendary bear, so if you're planning on building Bear Tribal in Commander, then Goreclaw, Terror of Qualsisma is right where you want to be, and I'm pretty sure that it's the commander hype, and then also it kind of has like the Yargle effect, and maybe the Gigantosaurus effect as well, where it's kind of just a unique, interesting card, and that's the main reason it's selling copies, not necessarily because it's a fantastic card, but because it is unique. Next card we're going to take a look at here is Graveyard Marshal. This card, I believe, it was the best selling from most of the websites I saw, outside of, I believe, 2 of them. But Graveyard Marshal here, just another fantastic card. I'm surprised this card is only $260 right now, with it being as sought after as it is. It's usually the kind of cards like this that you expect to be more like $5 cards. But Graveyard Marshal is seeing a bunch of play here again. These zombies decks, also mono black mid-range as well. It's a nice recursive threat, and I'm sure if you're playing Commander, again, similar to Death Baron, you're going to want to pick up a Graveyard Marshal for your Commander deck if it's zombie-centered as well. And so Graveyard Marshal, just a fantastic pickup, and a bunch of people are searching after it right now to put into most likely their standard decks and a few Commander decks as well. Next up, we've got Nicol Bolas, the Ravager. The hype was real with this card, but it appears to be paying off. If we look down here at the top decks, it's showing up in all these decks. We talked about it in my video that I posted, I believe, last Tuesday, the one where I went over the top 8 standard deck list. I know that's where a lot of you guys know me from, or at least have seen that video, because it already has like 10K views or something like that. But we talked about how important Nicol Bolas is going to be in the upcoming standard meta, and so a bunch of players are searching after it. Got to pick up their copies so they can use them in their PBTQs, GPs, RPTQs, all this other kind of stuff. Basically, any competitive player that you'll see will most likely be running a Nicol Bolas deck. It could end up being that mono green and mono red are still fantastic options, but I think the players that you see that don't really care too much about price point and are just looking to play one of the best decks in standard, you're most likely going to see them playing with Nicol Bolas because the card is just doing great so far. Next card we have here is another one that was made more accessible due to a reprint, and that is Reliquary Tower. Reliquary Tower previously made another one of my videos, which was the top 10 uncommons that could use a reprint, and Reliquary Tower was certainly a pricey card in the past, but this reprint has brought it down to still at $1.50 for an uncommon, which is still pretty good. In all honesty, that's quite a bit of your money back from the pack already. So Reliquary Tower just, again, becoming more accessible because of the price point dropping, and so a bunch of players are picking them up now that they have the option to, without spending $5 to $10 or whatever they were before. Next card here is Remorseful Cleric. Remorseful Cleric is seeing a bunch of play in all sorts of decks. Here you can see in Modern the White-Blue Spirits deck, as well as White-Black Knights and Mono-White here in Standard. Another place where you're seeing Remorseful Cleric seeing some play is in Legacy now, because of Deathrite Shaman and Gitaxian Pro being banned, especially with Deathrite Shaman being banned. Reanimator got a much bigger jump into the Legacy meta. It became a much better deck, and Remorseful Cleric is a nice way for the Death and Taxes deck to still have a beat that can attack for 2 in the air, but if needed, if their opponent's trying to go off with their Reanimator deck, then Remorseful Cleric is a nice way to just stop them, nice and simple. After that, we have Runic Armas. This is a card that was in a 5-0 mono-green Devotion League yesterday. Here you can see it says red-green. Actually, it might have been red-green instead of mono-green. No, okay. Yeah, it was. Okay, it ran Bloodbraid Elf, Roric Thar, and Domri Raid, and this was a pretty nice list. Also ran Gigantosaurus, so congratulations to Mox Emperor here for the great finish with this deck. But it ran 3 copies of the Runic Armas, which is pretty nice. Because of the modern meta, there are a ton of fetch lands running around. They're just the best lands in Modern. And so Runic Armasaur says whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. There's a ton of activated abilities that people want to use in Modern, things like Arcbound Ravager and all this other kind of just crazy activated abilities. And then for lands, whenever they crack a fetch land, you get to draw a card on a 2/5 body for 3 mana. That's not too bad at all. A lot of people were comparing this to Tireless Tracker, saying that it's probably going to be fighting for the spot with Tireless Tracker, but you can see here in the list that this person 5-0'd with 3 Runic Armasaur, only 1 Tireless Tracker, so it is possible that in the future we're going to see more Runic Armasaurs being played as opposed to Tireless Trackers in Modern. Next card we have here is Psymaster Thopterus. Psymaster Thopterus is seeing play in the Paradoxical Outcome decks, the artifact decks that just try and play out a ton of cards and then use Aetherflux Reservoir to kill their opponent. This is a nice backup win condition in those. It was also a backup win condition in the deck tag that I uploaded yesterday. If you guys haven't seen that, it was a budget $50 standard deck tag called One with the Colossus, focusing on the new card One with the Machine and how it interacts with the card Metalwork Colossus. And so Psymaster Thopterus, just basically an any blue-based artifact deck, is putting in a ton of work. I don't know if, there hasn't really been anybody 5-0ing with it in competitive leagues, so it's not going to show up here on Magic the Gathering, or not on Magic Online, on MTG Goldfish. However, I can assure you I've seen a ton of people streaming with the mono-blue Paradoxical Outcome list, and Psy is a very important card in that deck. I don't know if you guys have seen the GP highlight over the weekend. There was a guy playing the Psymaster Thopterus Paradoxical Outcome deck, and he just had the entire table filled up with Thopter tokens and artifacts. It was a super crazy scene to look at. I believe if you go to Channel Fireball's YouTube page, in their top 5 plays, it was one of the top 5 plays. Just go ahead and watch that. It was it was ridiculous, the board state that was managed to be created solely because of Psy and all the artifacts that were being cast. Next card we have here is Sarkhan's Unsealing. This one, I believe, has the Saffron Olive effect. If you guys don't know what the Saffron Olive effect is, it's pretty much whenever a big YouTuber in the Magic the Gathering community makes a deck, you can sometimes expect a little bit of a price increase regarding that, and that's what happened with Sarkhan's Unsealing. That was like the first M19 deck that Saffron Olive made, and a lot of people were really excited for it, so they're picking up their copies for Sarkhan's Unsealing. It didn't really get the price spike, but it definitely got a bunch of people interested in it, and it looks like they're picking up the copies for it because it's one of the best selling cards. I believe it also 5-0'd a League. Yeah, it also 5-0'd a League. I don't know if this is Saffron Olive's exact list, but nonetheless, still just a very interesting deck, and people are trying to pick up the Sarkhan's Unsealings, especially now that they know that it's a real deck, and not just something that some YouTuber put together, but it's something that can actually 5-0 a League, and that's kind of impressive with Sarkhan's Unsealing, and then kind of, it looks like a mono green shell, and then maybe some magma sprays here in the sideboard as well. And then the final card we have to talk about here is Supreme Phantom. Supreme Phantom is seeing play in Modern. Right now in Standard, there are a ton of horrible Spirit cards. The only other good Spirit in Standard is another card that we already talked about, which of course is Remorseful Cleric. So this is solely seeing play in Modern, but it's super, super good in Modern. You can see here in the Blue-White Spirits deck and in the Bant Spirits deck. And I think the main reason people really want to pick up this card right now is because if we take a look at this list right here, this list list was the deck that 7-0'd the Modern Challenge yesterday. I believe yesterday. Yeah, today's the 15th. 7-0'd yesterday on the 14th, and that's just super impressive for a card to just come out of M19 and then being out for only a few days and then just 7-0 going undefeated in the Modern Challenge that was being held on Magic Online. So very, very impressive work here from Supreme Phantom, and you can already see that it's making the deck a lot better. And it wouldn't surprise me if it continues to show just how important it's going to be in the modern meta for decks to come, with future spirits being printed. These are the kind of cards that are always nice to have, because all it takes is one other spirit to be printed that's just kind of insane, and then out of nowhere Supreme Phantom can jump up in price. So a lot of people picking them up early for their modern spirit decks. They're kind of a necessity now, and then maybe picking them up for standard as well, knowing that more spirits will be printed in the future, because I don't know if they would have printed this card in the core set had they not had plans in the future for more spirits to come out and possibly make spirits another good solid deck. So a lot of people picking up Supreme Phantoms right now as well. So that takes us to the end of the video. Once again, I will go over all 10 cards. Again, these were in alphabetical order, no specific order outside of that. So Death Baron, Goreclaw, Terror of Qualsisma, Graveyard Marshal, Nicol Bolas the Ravager, Reliquary Tower, Remorseful Cleric, Runic Armas, Psy Master Thopterist, Sarkhan's Unsealing, and then finally Supreme Phantom are your 10 best-selling cards from Core Set 2019 after it's only been out for a few days. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, a like would be very much appreciated. Hopefully you guys found this to be informative. Again, like I said, a like would be appreciated if you did. Let me know down below in the comments, was there a card that you were expecting to see here that you didn't see here? I was kind of expecting to see a Johnny, Adversary of Tyrants. I thought that was a card that would certainly be up here, but it looked like not a lot of people are after a Johnny right now, so maybe people don't want to be playing white decks in standard right now. Liliana is another card that I thought might be up here, but she's very specific towards the zombie creature type, so maybe people were just more focused on picking up their Graveyard Marshals and Death Barons instead of going for the Liliana in terms of the zombie deck right now in standard, and possibly even for Commander as well. Again, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, and I will see you guys here tomorrow for yet another Magic the Gathering video.